perfect society. Then he tried to do it in one of the islands off of Italy. I think it was, I forget which islands. Maybe it was Corsica. And the king of that island was supposed to be the ideal king. He turned out to be such a rascal that Plato had him killed and stopped the whole experiment. It failed completely. But his book, called The Republic, is very detailed, how to have a perfect society. Yet, in ancient India, Lord Ramachandra created a perfect society 1.7 million years ago. And Yudhisthira Maharaj created a perfect society 5,000 years ago. So, what we're going to do is study the description of the principles and the techniques used by Lord Ramachandra and Yudhisthira Maharaj to bring about the successful model of a perfect society in which there's health, wealth, peace, and spirituality for everyone. So, principle 1 is protection for the citizens of the state. So there are 5 categories of citizens of a state that must be protected. They are seniors, meaning elderly people, children, meaning like you, women, and cows, and brahmanas. These are the 5 types of people that need special protection. You have seniors, or the elderly, children, women, cows, and brahmanas. If the state does not protect all or one of the categories of the citizens, it will cause disturbances and misfortune. There'll be a lot of problems in such a country. So, special importance is given to cow protection. It's for the peace and prosperity of the society. And in the Srimad Bhagavatham, 1st canto, 10th chapter, 4th verse, Prabhupada explains this. And he says, during the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira, the clouds showered water that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of man in profusion. Due to its fatty milk bag and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing ground with milk. This is very interesting. You don't need industry. You don't need tractors. You don't need petroleum or gasoline or diesel. You don't need antibiotics. You don't need technologies and science to produce rain on a regular basis or to receive the necessities of life, which are vegetables, fruits, and grains. Nature will supply these as well as regular rain. And to fertilize the field, when the cows are happy, they drip milk from their udders, and it fertilizes the field. And of course, they have their cow dung and urine. It also fertilizes the field. So you don't have to buy fertilizer, you don't have to buy pesticide, you don't have to have technology of tractors and gasoline, and you don't need computers, none of that stuff, in order to have health, wealth, peace, spirit, and spirituality. So Prabhupada explains that the basic principle of economic development is based on stewardship of the land. That means treating the land in a friendly way, in a responsible way, and 2, taking care of cows. If you do these 2 things, all the necessities of human society, such as food grains, fruits, milk, minerals, clothing, wood, etc., will be supplied. We need these things. In other words, grains, that means like wheat, rice, all these things. Fruits, mangoes and cherries and peaches and all these things, and apples. Milk, minerals, clothing, and wood. These are all necessities for human beings. One requires all these items to fulfill the material needs of the body. Certainly one does not require flesh and fish or iron tools and machinery. Wow, Prabhupada is saying you don't need all these things. You don't need Home Depot. You don't need Lowe's. You don't need Ace Hardware. See? During the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira, all over the world, there were regulated rainfalls, meaning the kingdom of Maharaj Yudhisthira was the whole earth. It wasn't just India. It included all the great continents of the of the earth. You have Russia, Europe, you have Greenland, you have Australia, you have all of the Americas, North and South America, you have Africa. All of that was ruled by Maharaj Yudhisthira. And everywhere in the world, there was regulated rainfall. In fact, Krishna explains, Anam bhavanti bhutani parajanyat anasambhava. In the 3rd chapter, he says that third chapter, verse number 14. Anad bhavanti bhutani parajanyat anasambhava yajnat bhavati parajanyo yajna karma samudbhava. He says, all living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, or sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. So what is the one yajna, or sacrifices, recommended in Kali Yuga? Chanting what? Marijuana? Yes, exactly right. It's actually Harinam Sankirtan. That's recommended in the age of Kali. So if we perform Harinam Sankirtan regularly, what happens? They'll be regulated? No, rains. Rain. R-A-I-N-S, not S-O-C-I-E-T-Y. Okay. So just don't raise your hand like that. Think first. What did he ask? Right? And then give the right. Don't put your fingers in your mouth. If you want to put something in your mouth, put your foot in your mouth. No. Then don't put your fingers. Okay. Anybody want to put their foot in their mouth? Krishna P, you want to put your foot in your mouth? You want to put your foot in your mouth? Okay. Then don't put your fingers in your mouth. Okay. So if we do regular Harinam Sankirtan, there will be regular rain. Because if you don't have rain, nothing grows. You can have the seeds, you can have the earth, but no rain, no food. So when there's regular rain comes from the fact that people are performing yajnas, or sacrifices. And sacrifices, and then if there's regular rain, there are grains and food. And the sacrifices means there's regular performance of Harinama Sankirtan. And in order to do regular Harinama Sankirtan, there has to be regulated activities according to the Vedas. So this going to sleep early and waking up early is the beginning of regulated life. If you go to sleep late and you wake up late, you can't get anything done spiritually. And even materially, it won't be done well. Right? So the going to sleep early, what's early? Is it 11 o'clock at night? Krishna P? What? Huh? 9? Yeah, that's good. Latest should be 8 or 9 o'clock at night. For kids, it should be 8 o'clock. Yes. Why you look surprised? Huh? You go to sleep what? At 11? She said 11. Huh? Oh, she doesn't get to sleep till 11. You're 3 hours too late. Little kids should go to sleep 8 o'clock at night, so you can wake up 5 o'clock in the morning. What?
I go to sleep at 8:30.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Okay, so if you eat only food that's offered to Krishna, then something wonderful happens. You can counter all the reactions of past material infections. Means you can purify all your previous karmas. Because the previous karmas are obstacles on the path of spiritual realization or self-realization. So, eating only prasadam is very important. But one who doesn't continues to increase volumes of sinful activities and sinful reactions. And you prepare your next body to be a dog or a pig. Who wants to be a dog or a pig in their next life? Raise your hand. You do? Can you give us a honk, 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 like a pig? Hey, he's already practicing. Good. Yeah. Have you ever seen a pig? A real one? Yeah? You want to look like that? Then why'd you raise your hand? You're joking. That's the way you become a pig, when you're always joking, not being serious. Okay, so if you act like a hog or a pig or a dog, then you suffer the reactions of all your previous sins. So the material world that we're living in is full of contamination. But by eating only prasadam, come on, let's not play games, okay? By eating only prasadam, you can become immunized to all those sinful reactions. What does immunize mean? Anybody know what immunize means? Raise your hand real quick without knowing the answer. Okay, Krishna P. What? Was that the answer?
I'm guessing it means like protected.
That's a good guess. That's a good guess. Yes, probably.
Use the mic, guys.
Clean? Not exactly. Yes, probably.
To protect against?
Yes. Yes. Immunize means, you get one of these shots, right? And then they have immunization for smallpox, immunization for polio, right? Immunization for chickenpox. Well, polio is a very bad disease that people get where you become paralyzed almost for the rest of your life.
If you get chickenpox, you never get it again or something?
No, you never get rid of it. It stays in your blood, and every time your immune system goes down, you get it again. So you don't want to get chickenpox. Yeah. So the immunization means you are protected against something. But they do this artificial immunization by injecting something into your blood. We do the real immunization by eating only prasadam. Which one would you like? Would you like to get a needle? It hurts, actually. Put a needle in. And by the way, when they... this is a true story. There's someone in this community who's a close relative went to the hospital to have a baby, and when there was when she was in the hospital, the baby wasn't coming out. So they wanted to induce, the doctors and the nurses wanted to induce induce meaning bring about the birth of the baby by giving her an injection and then opening up, it's called a C-section, opening up her stomach and taking out the baby. Right? They made a mistake on the injection. It's not funny, it's very serious. They made a mistake on the injection. They gave her too much. It almost killed her. It induced or caused a stroke, and now she's paralyzed. They were able to get the baby out alive, but she is paralyzed and she will probably die. And if she doesn't die, she'll be a vegetable the rest of her life. Meaning she can't talk, she stays in a state of coma. Because they injected, most probably, I mean, they have to find out, but they injected too much. See, it's very dangerous to get these injections, because if the person makes a mistake, you could die, or you could be a vegetable the rest of your life. Or even, yes? Yeah. They claim it's healthy, but in small doses it's healthy. In big doses it'll kill you. People make mistakes, don't they? Do you ever make a mistake? They have to learn a lot, but they can still make mistakes. And because of medical mistakes in America, every year between 120 to 150,000 Americans are killed. You know how much that is? That's twice as much as American soldiers died in the Vietnam War during a 5-year war. During 5 years of war in Vietnam, 55,000 American soldiers died. In 1 year in the United States, over 120 to 150,000 Americans are killed by medical mistakes. That's worse than war. Yes, Mr. KP, Krishna.
If a doctor or something makes a mistake, and it does something really bad, do the doctors have to pay a fine or something?
No, they have insurance. The insurance company pays. Unless they do it on purpose, then they go to jail. But there are doctors that kill people on purpose. Yeah, there was one nurse. There was a nurse. He killed 55 people. Old people. Huh? Fire him? I'd put him in jail and hang him. No, he killed 55 people. He did it on purpose. Until they discovered it. So every hospital, every time he would kill a few people, he'd change the hospital and go to another hospital and get hired. And then finally they caught up with him. They figured there was a pattern. Wherever he went, a lot of people started dying. Yes. Is that your question? Hare Bol. What do you say when someone says Hare Krishna. Okay, go ahead. Yes. Use the microphone. Don't use the microphone for a massage. Use it for... Hare Krishna!
Did you do that on purpose?
Yes.
But why would they hire us? They knew him.
Because they didn't find out right away. He was very clever. He killed just a few people, and then he would change the hospital. and go somewhere else. Giving them too much injection. I'm telling you, you can die very easily by getting an overdose of an injection. You ever hear of drug addicts overdosing? What does that mean when a drug addict overdoses? Yes. Yeah, they make a mistake, they put in too much drug. Because when you get an injection, it goes directly into your bloodstream, and if you have an overdose, it goes to your heart or to your brain, and you have a stroke and you die. It's very similar. It happens very quickly. Okay, so this Harinam Sankirtan is very important if you like to eat. Who doesn't like to eat here? You don't like to eat? No. Are you going to stop eating? You don't like eating. Okay. Do you like sleeping? Yeah. Okay. Then you're like a bear. No, they only eat 6 months and they sleep 6 months. Yeah, they hibernate. That's called sleeping. Okay, so this eating prasadam and going out of Sankirtan give you the perfection of life. Okay, so Prabhupada says, the basic principles of economic development are centered on land and cows. The necessities of human society are food grains, fruits, milk, minerals, clothing, wood, etc. One requires all these items to fulfill material needs of the body. Certainly one does not require flesh and fish or iron tools and machinery. During the regime of Maharaj Yudhishthira, all over the world there were regulated rainfalls. Rainfalls are not in the control of the human being. The heavenly king, Indradeva, is the controller of rains, and he is the servant of Lord Krishna. When the Lord is obeyed by the king and the people under the king's administration, there are regulated rains from the horizon, and these rains are the causes of all varieties of production on the land. Not only do regulated rains help ample production of grains and fruits, but when they combine with astronomical influences, there is ample production of valuable stones and pearls. What does that mean? Astronomical influences. Who knows what astronomical influences? Yes. Astronomical. Okay, let's all say the word. Astronomical.
Is astronomy the study of the stars or something?
Yes. So, because the devas live on the stars, right? They're planets. We call them stars, but they're actually planets. Now, when there are different constellations of the stars, and there's different movements of the stars, and according to all those movements, you measure time. You can figure out when spring begins, and then summer begins, then fall begins, and winter begins. Like previously, 5,000, well, let's say thousands of years ago, there were no telescopes, right? But people could measure time. You know how they did it? If you go to places like Stonehenge in England, or other places like in Armenia also, there's a Stonehenge like in England. They carved rocks and they placed them in such a way, and the rocks could move slightly, and they carved holes in the rocks so that when a certain star was in a certain position, by looking through two holes, one in one rock and one in the other rock, you could see that star in a certain direction, pointed in a certain direction. That star is the, I think it's the pole star, the one Dhruva Maharaj lives on. That would indicate the beginning of spring. It would only happen once a year on a particular time. Therefore, these rocks in these astrological, let's say, constructs from ancient times were placed in such a way that once a year, looking through one hole and looking through the other hole, you would see that star. That means they would calculate that as the time when spring starts. And it was accurate. Now, when does spring start?
Once a year.
I know, when? That is a clever non-answer, right? Yes. Yeah, approximately around March 21st, right? So they were able, by placement of these rocks and holes and precise holes in the rocks, see exactly when spring would start. And based on that, they would make their time charts. Right? And then there were other positions of the stars that they could also see. No. Okay, so you understand, it's not because we have modern telescopes that there is advanced science today, or modern microscopes. Previously, they could see things using different technologies than today. Okay, so when there's ample grains and vegetation, then you can sumptuously feed men and animals, just like we see at the farm. Okay, can you stop touching each other? Right? Don't touch each other's feet or leg, or okay. So when people bring things for the cows, they bring grains. This one lady sprouts dals and rice and wheat. Every day brings a big bowl for the cows, and the cows eat it. And she mixes jaggery or gur with it, natural sugar from India. The cows eat it up like a strawberry shortcake. You know what a strawberry shortcake is? Is it good? What?
I don't like it.
Oh, wow, you're strange. Anyway, like ice cream, they eat it up like a gulab or ice cream. They love it. So when you have ample range, you'll have ample grains and food and vegetables, and you can feed the cows and the men and people really nicely. And what happens? Then the cows produce better milk. And they produce so much milk that it just falls out of their udder onto the ground, and you don't need a fertilizer. That fertilizes the ground. Right? It is said that the cows used to moisten the pasturing land with milk because their milk bags were fatty and the animals were joyful. Do they not require, therefore, proper protection for a joyful life by being fed with a sufficient quantity of grass in the field? Why should men kill cows for their selfish purposes? Why should man not be satisfied with grains, fruits, and milk, which combined together can produce hundreds and thousands of palatable, meaning tasty or delicious dishes? Why are there slaughterhouses all over the world to kill innocent animals? Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson of Maharaj Yudhisthira, while touring his vast kingdom, saw a black man attempting to kill a cow. The king at once arrested the butcher and chastised him sufficiently. Should not a king or executive head protect the lives of the poor animals who are unable to defend themselves? Is this humanity? Are not the animals of a country citizens also, because they're born in a country? Then why are they allowed to be butchered in organized slaughterhouses? Are these the signs of equality, fraternity, and nonviolence? Therefore, in contrast with modern, advanced, civilized form of government, an autocracy like Maharaj Yudhisthira's is by far superior to the so-called democracy in which animals are killed and a man less than an animal is allowed to cast votes for another less than animal man. So what is the difference between a autocracy and a democracy? Sidhu, who has the microphone. Can you repeat the question? What do we say when he says Hare Krishna. Can you repeat the question? You didn't hear, but you're sitting right there. What were you doing that caused you not to hear it? What? What?
KR came.
You have the microphone, you can speak into the microphone.
Call me KR.
Oh, KR came. So it's his fault. Is that what you're saying? It's not your fault.
Yes.
What?
No ideas.
You have no ideas. Well, that's sad.
Yes, because he came, and no, because I was the one who got distracted.
Well, it was your fault. You were sitting right here. You can't even be sitting any closer. We have a mic. I'm speaking into a microphone, and you still didn't hear it. And you don't know what the question is. Is that right? Anybody else know what the question is?
There was something to do with democracy and autocracy.
What is the difference between autocracy and democracy? Well, okay, that's fair. That's why I'm asking the question. Do you know what democracy is? What? Anybody know what democracy is? Why don't you answer, Prabhu? No, the guy sitting behind you. No, you. I was pointing at you. Hare Krishna.
Democracy is when
Hare Krishna.
people have the right to vote. Like in the U.S., they have democracy where the citizens get to vote for their people, and everyone has like equal shares. So it's not like
Hare Krishna.
monocracy. I mean monocracy. I mean monarchy. So yeah. So not everyone has. Not one person has like all the power in the government.
Okay, actually, we do not have a democracy in the United States. This is representative government. It's different than a democracy. Yes, voting is a part of democracy, but you have what's called the Electoral College in the United States. Now, Hillary Clinton won the vote count of votes passed in the United States. She got approximately 3 million more votes than Donald Trump. So how come she's not the president that he is? Yes. Give her the microphone, please. Go ahead. Yes.
Because each state has like a particular number. I guess it's like the points, but it's like represented by the population. So like, for example, Texas, since it has so many people and it's a bigger state, if Texas like think it voted for Donald Trump, so even though like she got more votes, Donald Trump had like the bigger state, so he won the bigger state.
No, wrong answer. Although, nice try. Yes, Mr. Krishna won.
There's a
Microphone, microphone.
like representatives in each number of states, and
Speak into the
and I
microphone.
think the electoral
Turn it on
college-
first. Turn it on first.
Okay. I forgot what
Speak into the microphone.
I forgot what the electoral college meant, but
Okay, that's good. Yes, there's a thing called the electrical college. Not the electric college, but the electrical college. What?
and then I think there's like there's a number of representatives in each state. Like,
Speak into the microphone.
depending on the population, and then the president.
You said Speak into the microphone.
Use the microphone.
I know, while you're thinking, you're taking the microphone away from your mouth. Right?
And then
Okay, anyway, you're right. There is something called the electoral college, okay? And based on the way people vote in that particular state, the electors will cast a vote. So Trump won the electoral college. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, and she still lost. So we do not have what's called direct democracy. We have representative democracy. Just like you elect a senator or a member of the House of Representatives. So, therefore, they vote to make laws supposedly representing you, right? You don't vote directly to make laws. So we do not have a direct democracy. If we did have a direct democracy, then the people voting in big states would win every election. And the people living in the small states would never get a say on who they want to represent them. Because big states have more population. And therefore, now you see how smart the makers of the Constitution of the United States were. They understood this. Therefore, they made a representative government where you don't have direct democracy, but you do have people who are supposed to vote according to the majority vote in a state. So if you have a state that only has 5 million people, like Washington State, and you have a certain number of electors, and then you have a state like New York where you have 37 million people, and they have a certain number of electors, right? So therefore, if the people in New York vote Democrat, but not everybody votes Democrat, right? A majority. Then the electors, a majority of the electors would vote Democrat, but some might not. They might vote Republican to represent sort of the balance of the vote. There were some people who voted Republican, some people who voted Democrat. More people voted Democrat, so more electors would choose Democrats, and some might choose Republicans. So you see, in this way, Trump was very smart, and he was able to win the election even though he didn't win the electoral votes, the popular vote. Yes?
What does a popular vote even do?
What does it do?
Yeah.
Well, it shows that people prefer this candidate or that candidate. But if you only go by the direct vote of the people, then the big states would always determine who's going to be president, who's going to be the ruler of the country, you see. So in order to avoid that and give equal representation to all the states, this was a real major issue when they made the Constitution. They had to figure out how to balance it off so that the smaller states would also have equal representation. They came up with this representative government rather than democratic government. You'll learn all these things if you go to the right schools. And they don't teach you these things if you go to the wrong schools. But if you go to the right schools, they teach you these things. Okay, so now we studied something today about the importance of cow protection, because if you protect cows, then you will have prosperity. And if you take care of the land also, you'll have prosperity. That's why at our farm, we don't use digging and plowing. If anything, we do scratching of the earth, but we don't do digging and plowing. Why? Because there are microorganisms in the earth. When you plow, well, first of all, if you cut all the trees and then you plow the field, you kill all those microorganisms. See? So when you see normal farming, if you go out to Monroe or you go down to where our farm is, now in Auburn, you'll see that the farmers have big fields and no trees, and they plow the fields. They are obliged to use fertilizer and pesticides in order to grow. Now, if you go to a state like Kansas or Missouri, or those places, you'll see miles and miles of flat land, hardly any trees, and they're using massive amount of fertilizer and pesticides to grow. So, but when you do no dig, no plow growing, you don't need fertilizer, and You don't need any pesticides. And you work with the land. It's called the carbon cycle. The carbon cycle, like in a forest, the carbon cycle is working naturally. That is, trees are growing like 100 feet tall. They're plants. How come they're growing when there's no plowing, no fertilization, no watering? You know, you'll see in these big fields, they have these massive, sprinkler systems, watering the fields. And they cost a lot of money. You don't have any of that, but yet you have these gigantic forests, big, big trees. How come it grows without watering, without fertilization, without pesticides? Why? Why do you think it grows? Whereas in agricultural industry, they use big machinery for plowing, for fertilizing, and for harvesting, and so forth. So why in nature none of those things are happening? But yet big trees are growing and forests. Krishna too, that you half put your hand up. Microphone.
I don't really know what the carbon cycle is, but all I can infer is that the trees, without the pesticides and what's that called?
Fertilizers.
Yeah, fertilizer. That they
Haribol, Hare Krishna.
They can grow better. Those pesticides and fertilizers just kill microbes, and then it makes trees.
Hare Krishna.
The trees need microbes to grow.
Yeah, okay, that's a good guess. A good guess. Yeah, there are microorganisms called yeasts and funguses, and there are worms and bugs, and also animals under the ground, like moles. And they all are part of the carbon cycle. What is the carbon cycle? It means that rain comes and there's a seed and it begins to grow. And then when it grows into, let's say, a plant, the plant captures the energy of the sun through photosynthesis, and it produces chemicals, but natural chemicals, which are types of carbohydrates, right? And these carbohydrates are energy. So when they become compressed over a long period of time, it can become either oil or gas or coal, right? So that is compressed energy from the plants that captured the energy of the sun and then converted it into carbohydrates. You understand? So now, yes? Okay. So it's called mound growing, or the technical name is Hugelkultur. It is a German word. So when you take a tree trunk of a deciduous trees are trees that lose their leaves once a year. Okay, 1 second, I'll come back. So you see these trees outside here? They're evergreen trees. They don't lose their leaves. Whereas deciduous trees lose their leaves once a year. And those leaves go into the ground and they compost. And they have bacteria on them. And the microorganisms in the ground, including worms, they eat the microbes on the leaves, and they gradually break the leaves down, and it becomes compost. So in a forest, the natural compost could be very, very big. Like, it could be 20 feet deep, maybe 50 feet deep, right? So that produces nutrients for the tree to grow. Now, where did the leaves come from? They came from the tree. And then they fell down and they composted, and it produces more nutrients for the tree. You see, this is the carbon cycle. It is a self-sufficient cycle in nature. That's why nature proliferates itself. It doesn't, you don't need to plant, you don't need to fertilize, you don't need to water. It's all happening naturally. And this is what Prabhupada is talking about here. He doesn't mention the word carbon cycle, but he says, certainly one does not require flesh and fish or iron tools and machinery. During the regime of Maharaj Yudhisthira all over the world, there were regulated rains. Rainfalls are not in the control of human beings. The heavenly king Indradeva is the controller of rains, and he is the servant of the Lord. When the Lord is obeyed by the king and the people under the king's administration, there are regulated rains from the horizon, and these rains are the causes of varieties of production on the land. Not only do regulated rains help ample production of grains and fruit, but when they combine with astronomical influences, there is ample production of valuable stones and pearls. You see? So, all you have to do is Harinam Sankirtan, regular chanting in congregation of the names of the Lord, and follow the regulative principles, and naturally all these things will happen. Naturally there'll be regulated rains. Naturally there'll be production of pearls and jewels and precious stones. Naturally there'll be production of all the food that you need. You have to work, but you don't have to work with all this modern technology. You learn to cooperate with this carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, the phosphorus cycle, the water cycle. These are all cycles created by Krishna. They work naturally, and it creates self-sufficiency. Yes?
I just wanted to say that on Friday we were watching a video at school.
Yeah.
Like CNN 10, like news channel. And there was like this one section. There was this one section about like these two, like I think they were a couple, I don't know. But they like decided to make laboratory like grown diamonds because they didn't want to like they said that
Dig up the earth.
yeah. So then they decided to make like their own diamonds, and they like I don't know, they used all these like oxygen, like all these random airs and everything, and then like it looks just like a diamond. So then they asked this person like, can you tell which one is the real one and which one's like the laboratory one? And like she couldn't tell because they like both looked the same.
Okay. Can they make a laboratory cabbage? Just with air. Yeah.
Tanvi, I have seen that video, a different video, and I searched on that one. So the biggest company in the diamond, they have made a machine which can tell the difference. And the diamond which is created by the artificially is not same as the original diamond at all. And it will get faded with the time, the one which is created in the lab.
It's like a robot of Tanvi. Is it the same as Tanvi? No, it's called cheating. It's a type of cheating. Just like in China, they make Rolex watches that only cost $35. You can buy them on the street here in Seattle also. They have guys selling, you know, they have a big coat on and they come up to you and say, hey man, and they open up the coat and there's all Rolex watches, you know. You know, and you say, well, how much is it? $35. Said, $35, man. If I go to the watch company, it costs $35,000, you know. But it looks exactly the same. But if you look inside of it, it's a piece of junk made in China that only costs like $2. The actual clockwork of it. But the outside looks exactly the same. It looks like real gold. It's not real gold. Yes.
This cheating is going on everywhere. So how they convince people? By advertisement. Okay, and then they attach, they say that, okay, this is a scientific thing. And the common man in this world understand, okay, scientific, that means something genuine, but it's not genuine. And plus, they say there are different studies are going on behind it, and studies said that. But they never share that knowledge of studies.
Yeah.
So they are passing, if something goes wrong, they'll say that we have not said that, we are just giving the information. But actually, it's all cheating. You take anything, like the tomatoes what we get here, in a Safeway or somewhere here, like it doesn't taste well. Right? Apple you eat, banana you eat. If you eat the same thing, like we have went to Soap Lake there, the tomato we ate there was really nice. So this is how the cheating is going on, and yeah.
Okay, we'll continue. We'll finish up after the opening of the deities. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Now everyone can say,
Yashomati Nandana Brajavala Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Parana Dana Madala Manohara Kaliya Damana Virana Amala Harina Mamiya Vigasha Amala Harina Mamiya Vigasha Vipira Purandara Navina Nagara Bora Vamsi Vadana Subhasa Gajarana Palana Surakula Nashana Vajrajana Palana Surakula Nashana Nanda Godana Rakobala Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Sundara Nanda Gopala Yamuna Tata Tara Gopi Vasana Hara Dasa Dasika Kripa Moya Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavala Bhakti Vinoda Shaya Bhakti Vinoda Shaya Yashomati Nandana Brajavala Gada Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Padana Dana Madana Manohara Gopi Padana Dana Madana Manohara Kaliya Ramana Vedana Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe Jaya Baladev Ram Jaya Lakshmana Hanuman. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nita Gora Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nita Gora Hari Bol. Nita Gora Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nita Gora Hari Bol.
Hey Prabhu, hey Prabhu.
Jai. 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 Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
So we didn't answer the question, what is the difference between an autocracy and a democracy? So autocracy means you have one ruler. Auto means one. That's a king. Right? And a democracy means, and it's usually determined by some kind of a family affiliation. However, the democracy, anyone can become the leader, and it's by the votes of the people. Okay, so autocracy. So the Vedic ideal kingdom or ideal government is a king, autocracy, but the king has to be qualified. So in the time of, in ancient times, whenever someone became king who was not qualified, the Brahmins would ask that person to step down. If he refused to step down, the Brahmins would kill him. Because it would mean the whole destruction of the society to have an unqualified person as king. But when the king is a genuine saintly person, like, for example, Ramachandra was a king, Yudhisthira was a king, then everyone in the society will be happy, healthy, prosperous, and spiritually elevated. Okay, so I'm going to finish with one final point, and then you can make your presentation. You're going to have a theme-based play, I guess, based on the cow. Is that right? Is that right? Yeah, okay. So the final point I want to make today we began a series of lectures on health, wealth, peace, and spirituality for humanity. And the first point of a perfect society is protection of the citizens of the state. And there are 5 categories of citizens. There are brahmanas, elderly persons, women, children, and cows. So we focus today on the protection of cows, and special importance given to cow protection. And the basic principle of economic development, right, is protection of cows and responsible stewardship, meaning management of land. And then we talked about how doing Sankirtan, the yagya or sacrifice recommended for age of Kali, you will get regulated rain. If there's regulated rain, there'll be regular production of grains. If there's regular production of grains, then everyone will be well fed, and there will not be anyone in anxiety, and they'll be healthy. Okay. So what is this all leading to? It's leading to the perfect society. And when we open up our Varnashram College in the new temple in Bellevue, the purpose of the Varnashram College will be to develop a perfect society. And hopefully in the future, all of our devotees will learn and become expert in different aspects. Come on now, stop talking, right? If you want to talk, just go outside and talk. Don't interrupt the class by inattention. You want to go outside and talk? No? Then stop hugging him. Sit over here. Go over there and sit. Okay. In order to create, and the Varnashram College will train, hopefully, devotees, to take up positions in the perfect society. Perfect society is based on cow protection, which means protecting the cows and protecting the land. So this is going to require a lot of training and Vedic science. Like, for example, my daughter now, she's become more and more of an expert in healing cows, not using antibiotics or any modern medicines. Because cows get wounded easily, and sometimes they get sick easily. So instead of calling a veterinarian who is trained in college to use antibiotics and all kinds of chemicals to heal the cows, we need to train our own people who can heal cows using simply herbs and natural substances like essential oils and clay and things like that, like Krishna Prastaya is doing. Then we need people who will produce grains, but not using all this big machinery and petroleum and pesticides and artificial fertilizers. Grains and vegetables and so forth. Then we need people who are expert in banking. These are activities of real Vaishyas. Banking, grain production, cow protection. Related to that is animal husbandry, meaning learning how to heal sicknesses of the animals and people using only herbs and essential oils and clay and other natural substances, meaning using earth, water, fire, air, and ether correctly. Then we need people to be trained in microbiology, natural microbiology, in order to learn how to use the carbon cycle and other natural cycles in nature for enhanced growing of vegetables and grains and so forth. Yes, Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yesterday, this isn't really on topic, but I had a question for a long time. Yesterday, you were talking about 2 ways to become opulent in
Yes.
in the material world, and you said 1, serve cows, and 2, Brahminical culture. What is Brahminical culture?
Waking up early, going to sleep early, taking 2 or 3 baths a day, learning Vedic literature, being a person who has control of the mind, the senses, anger, envy, not having any bad habits, not sticking your finger in your mouth or the microphone in your mouth, things like that. And you get the idea. Samadhammak tapak socham santirajavam evacha jnanam vijnanam sahitam brahma karma svabhavajam. You have Brahminical qualities, right? Okay. So eventually all our devotees will take positions in this perfect society. You won't have to work in companies. We'll have our own company, and everyone will take one aspect of it and become an expert in it. It's like Krishna Vristaya is getting into animal husbandry. Animal husbandry means learning how to heal the animals and keep them healthy, right? Somebody else will get into banking. Someone else will get into microbiology. Someone else will get into transportation. So, like, for example, I have cousins. They moved to the United States from Iraq maybe 50 years ago. And they started a business of manufacturing homes, but prefabricated homes. So one of them does the cement work. One of them does the finance. One of them manufactures or prefabricated elements for the house. You know, they broke down a house into, let's say, 500 elements that you need to build a house. And you can build those houses, a prefabricated house, in like a month. Right? So they have built housing projects all over the East Coast of the United States. They're multi-millionaires. Each one is a millionaire. The one that makes the prefabricated elements, the one that is the financier, the one that organizes the workers to build the houses, and then in the houses there's, you know, electrical work, there's plumbing work. Each one became an expert in every aspect of the house, and as a family they all became rich. They all became very wealthy. We can do the same thing to create a perfect society if we get trained properly. So, and you don't have to work for all these other companies anymore. We'll have an internal economic arrangement so that everyone makes a really good living, and the end product is perfect society in which we get away from industrialization and from artificial products and means of production and so forth, and use these ancient techniques that are given in the Bhagavatham to live healthy, wealthy, peaceful, and spiritual life. Okay, so we'll stop right there and we'll continue the series of lectures tomorrow in a couple weeks. So, with any questions? Yes, Advait, Prabhu.
This is a question nobody asked yet. How do you stay focused in class?
How do you stay focused in class? Don't sit next to KP or Sidhu or K2. Yes. Okay, homework. Well, the homework is what we're going to do now. What are we going to do now, Anand Prabhu? What are we going to do now? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. They have Okay, well, where's the team? Shrivani is not ready, or it's not ready? Did you know that you're ready, Shrivani? Okay, so stand up and make your presentation. And don't look so surprised. What?
We actually got together, we of the girls got together to do something for
Yeah.
It is not ready yet. We are just taking a...
Okay, fine. Let's have a presentation. This is the homework. Listen carefully. We're all going to work on this together. This is a communal project.
So for Anandamela,
So for Anandamela, so that's 2 Hare Krishnas. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
so for Anandamela, we're doing
Hare Krishna.
we're doing a presentation about cow protection. Yeah, so we're doing a presentation about cow protection, and this is just an outline so you guys can give feedback. So basically,
Hare Krishna.
there are 2 parts to this presentation. So the first part is there's the mother cow and a baby cow playing together in the grass and everything, and then a butcher comes and then takes the calf away from the cow. So then the mother,
Hare Krishna.
so then the mother cow cries and everything, and they go through like sadness, and so the calf is now in the butcher's shop. So then the butcher kills the calf, and the butcher just leaves the calf lying there, and then the butcher goes home, and then when he goes home, the butcher like plays with his daughter for some time, and then the butcher goes to sleep because it's night. And so when he's going to sleep, the butcher gets a nightmare where he's getting separated from his daughter. So then that morning when the butcher wakes up, when he goes back to work, like he feels really disturbed and like he walks like dizzy and everything. And then when he's walking, he comes by this devotee, and the devotee sees him all dizzy. And so then the devotee asks the butcher, "Oh, why are you so disturbed? Can I help you?" or something like that. And then the butcher tells him about the dream. And then then the devotee asks questions to the butcher. And so then the butcher slowly says, "Oh yeah, I killed a cow that day." So then the devotee says, "Oh, okay, so basically your dream is like to show how, like just like you felt pain when you got separated from your daughter, the mother cow felt the same pain.
Hare Krishna.
When her calf got separated. So then the devotee shows how to like actually take care of the cow. So the devotee shows like the benefits of the cow and how to like take care of the cow properly without killing it. And like even without killing the cow, you can still get milk and essentials of the cow. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, one suggestion. The butcher doesn't kill the cow. He says, "I'll kill the cow tomorrow morning." But he has that dream. And then in the end, the butcher opens a milk and ghee shop.
Yeah.
And he makes much more money by selling milk and ghee than by selling meat. Okay. Okay, so now who's going to work on this project? This is just an idea. Who's going to work on it? Let's separate the tasks. Let's see. Now Sidhu, he can talk nonsense, and let's see. And okay, Krishna P can touch Sidhu's feet. And then who's going to do the actual work though? Okay. What do you want to do, Sidhu, for this play? What's your, yeah. What? Hare Krishna. You want to be the butcher? Yes?
Can I be the devotee?
You can be the devotee, okay. But who's going to actually do the actual writing of the play? Yes? Yeah. You want to help write the play? You have to have a team that's going to write the play. You will help. Okay. Anybody else want to be in a team? Yes. And Advait? All right. When's the first? You want to help writing?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Prabhu, they already have a team.
Oh.
They already have a team and they have been practicing this for the
Well, they might need some more help.
Yeah. So if whoever wants to participate can talk to Vishaka.
Okay. Where's Vishaka? What? Vishaka says talk to Srivani. All right, so let's have a meeting now of all the people who want to participate in writing and all the people who want to be in the play. All right, you don't need me for that. We just made a little adjustment on the play just now. If you need help writing, you can ask me to help you also. By the way, Sidhu is a good actor. And Krishna P. KP is a good actor. The homework from last week? Oh, thank you.
Comparing the
General principles to be followed versus education given at schools nowadays. Wow, good.
And then this is just like I did a small exercise of what I think I'm following.
Okay. So Shrestha did homework from the last time. Well, last time we met was like 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, yeah. Let me read this. The question for the homework at that time was 30 general principles to be followed versus education given at schools nowadays. Actually, it's 20 principles, not 30. What? Oh, the verse from the Bhagavatham. Correct. Okay. Okay, here's her homework presentation. The 30 general principles cover everything a human being needs to do in order to earn satisfaction from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, when these qualifications are compared to the average student, I guess, curriculum nowadays, surely they will not be fit to follow any. Surely the ones who follow the curriculum in the schools today would not be able to follow any of the 30 principles, right? Is that what you mean? Yeah. In schools around the world, value education is not prioritized, and many people do not follow basic principles of hygiene. Around 20% of U.S. showers, 20% of the U.S. citizens shower less than 7 times a week. Is that right? That means they don't shower every day. Looking at this, it is clear that value and hygienical education should be prioritized. The education that I am receiving now at school is completely teaching information which helps those in the materialistic path. This can be shown through the behavior of students like KP. She has your name here. A multitude of them swear constantly and show no satisfaction. Do you swear, KP? Okay, that's good. Are you not satisfied? Okay. I have previously asked a student about her routine, and she told me that she bathed only 3 or 4 times a week. So compared to someone, how many times you bathe a day? Yeah. 1? Oh, okay.
4 times a day?
Okay. I have previously asked a student about a routine, and she told me that she bathed only 3 to 4 times a week. So compared to someone who follows all the 30 general principles, the average student is practically nothing, is practically doing nothing. To improve these people to spiritual actions, the academic system has to be changed. Everything that is taught should be, I guess, value-based. Knowledge should only be taught so that it can be used to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Students should be taught to chant and hear the holy names of the Lord. There is a saying, there are no bad students, only bad teachers. This means, very good, this means that unless the teachers and administrators really try to produce students who are spiritual and following these principles, then the students will not be following. It will become a self-fulfilling prophecy which will not be good for future generations. Let's see, self-fulfilling, no, it'll be... Well, okay. Unless the teachers are properly trained, the students will not be properly trained. That's what you're saying. Below, I also have a chart of what I personally think is in my control, what I still need to exhibit, and what I need to work on. Okay, so Strester writes, already doing, need to work on, not applicable. Okay, so 1, mercy. Already doing. Bathing twice a day, already doing. Discrimination between right and wrong, already doing. Nonviolence, already doing. Reading of scripture, already doing. Simplicity, meaning telling the truth and living straightforward. Seeing every soul, especially in the human form, as a part of the Supreme Lord. Okay, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Hearing about the activities and instructions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of the saintly person. So you're hearing regularly. Offering obeisances and celibacy. Very good. Need to work on truthfulness, austerity, observing fasts on certain days of the month, tolerance, control of the mind, control of the senses, satisfaction, observing the futility of the unnecessary activities of human society, remaining silent and grave and avoiding unnecessary talk, considering whether one is the body or the soul, chanting about these activities and instructions, always remembering these activities and instructions, trying to render service, perform worship, becoming a servant, becoming a friend, surrendering one's whole self. So these are the things that Shrestha is working on. And what is not applicable: charity, rendering service to saintly persons. What do you mean by non-applicable? Okay, so you would say not doing yet, but plan to do in the future. And when you say not applicable, it's a little confusing. Okay. Charity, rendering service to saintly persons, gradually taking leave of unnecessary engagements, distributing food equally to all living entities, both men and animals. Haribol, very good. Thank you very much for doing the homework. Did you learn something from doing this homework? Obviously, you learned a lot about yourself, your goals in life, and what is real education, what's not real education. So thank you very much for doing the homework. Hare Krishna. See, if you do the homework, Krishna, P, you will learn a lot about yourself. Okay. So what is the homework for next week? Go ahead.
It's not.
I gave you feedback, right? He doesn't kill the cow. He plans on killing it the next day. He has the dream, and eventually he starts a company selling butter, ghee, cheese, milk, and other milk products, and he becomes wealthy and happy. Okay. I had this person that came up to me, and he said, "Prabhu, all the Punjabis are opening up 7-Elevens. What should I do?" I said, "Prabhu, I'll give you the address of a person I know who has a butter and milk company, and he wants to sell it. Buy that company and take it over." You know what he did? He opened up a 7-Eleven. I gave him an option. I knew someone who was selling his company. It wasn't, I mean, it didn't cost more than a 7-Eleven, right? But he didn't hear my advice. And you know what he does now? He switched from 7-Eleven to just selling liquor. You see? He says it's called a slippery slope down to HELL. You know. Okay, yes? Feedback?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay, Hare Krishna.
The monster should become a devotee. Yes, he does. No, I have a question. Does he return the calf? No.
Well, he didn't kill it, so yeah, he's going to return the calf. Yeah.
How does he know which cow it is?
Because the cow that gave birth to that calf has a name. Just like you have a name. How do I know you're KP? Because you have a name.
Yeah, but what is the cow's name?
Well, that you have to wait till the play to learn that. Yeah. Okay, so you're saying you don't need any more volunteers, but don't you need actors, or maybe you need? I mean, Shrestha is a very qualified thinker and writer. Who's going to be the cow? Who's going to play the cow? You're going to be the cow? Okay. Who's going to be the butcher? You're going to be the butcher? You don't look like a butcher. Why don't you get, like, I don't know, somebody else to be the butcher. KP wants to be the butcher, What? They're what? Oh, tinier than a calf. No, it doesn't. You can be a mother cow. It doesn't. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I want to see the progress next week. If I don't think it's good enough, then we'll have to make some adjustments. So you have to work this week. Don't just come back every week. Well, we're still working on it, I want to see actual progress for next week. Haribol. So, okay, that doesn't mean none of you can work on this. You might have other suggestions for the play. You might be good at dialogue. And so you can also work on this. All right. You might want to write a whole play and compare. So work on this week. Haribol. Okay. Well, people are going to load it. Manoj is going to load it. You can help him. You can in our new business model, you can be you can run the new call it Dairy Queen.
Dairy Queen?
Yeah.